It is 7:17, so we will call our meeting to order tonight, Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. It's great to see everybody. Can I get a roll call of our board members, please?
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Julie's here. Karen Sarsa Diaz, I.
Here.
Okay. Pretty Subramaniam. Hi, Pretty. I see you. Bill is not here. Trish Gonzalez.
Here.
Kelly Privet. Thought I saw Kelly. I see you, Kelly. Joseph Wong.
Yeah.
I see you. Okay. Sam Yi. No, Sam. Okay. Jay Dixit.
Here.
Hi, Jay. Philip Loy is not here. Richard Centeno.
I'm here, Erica.
Hi, Richard. Good to see you. Adriana Pinedo.
Here.
Hello. And Tina Wright.
Here.
Hi, Tina. Okay, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, let's take a review of tonight's agenda. Where'd that go? There it is. There were a couple of minor edits to the agenda, just in terms of where a couple of things were placed, just so that you know, like the notice to conduct second term elections was previously under the consent agenda, and we moved it to put underneath the Strategic Development Advisory Committee report section. So I will call for a motion to accept the agenda as amended, please.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Trish. Do I have a second?
I can second.
Oh,
Julie,
thank you.
Adriana.
Oh, yes, thank you. All right. Any further discussion on this? All right. All in favor of accepting the agenda as amended, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go on to public comment. Do we have anyone for public comment tonight?
Yes, we have Mr. Carl Argila.
All right, thank you. Mr. Argila, please go ahead.
Thank you. Erica, can you let me know if I have audio as well as video?
Yes, sir, you're good to go.
That's great. Thank you so much. Good evening again, board. As you know, my name is Carl Argila. I am the father of Cavan Argila, an intellectually disabled deaf client of the San Gabriel Pomona Regional Center. And as you know, tonight's board meeting, including my comments, are being recorded under the provisions of the Bagley-Keene Act and will be posted for public review on my blog at www.sgprc.net. And once again, I am requesting that you terminate your conservatorship of my son, Cavan Argila. As you know, my son has clearly stated that he does not want to be conserved by you. My son has clearly stated that he wants his family to be his conservator. And as you also know, the Department of Developmental Services has issued their guidelines to mitigate conflicts for delegated conservatorships. And these guidelines provide a pathway out of conservatorship for clients who do not want to be conserved. And we now have an executive director's designee, as you know, and that person is Patricia Rambo. And as you also know, Ms. Rambo met with my son last month at my son's IPP review meeting. My son clearly expressed his desire to terminate your conservatorship, but you know, board, to date, Miss Rambo has not met with my son again, even though she said she would. I think it's also worthy to note, Board, as you are all aware, that we have noted the 5th anniversary of the death of George Floyd. It's been in the news. And I just wonder if this regional center has ever taken note, for example, of the 7th anniversary of the death of Timothy Cortinas, one of your clients who suffocated to death in a hot car due to negligence of your vendor. Have you ever apologized to Timothy Cortinas's mother? Have you ever apologized to those clients who were sexually abused by your vendor? And I know, of course, you've never apologized to me for my son becoming homeless while under the care of your vendor. So just a reminder again for any parent who hears my voice tonight, please take note, no matter how consumer friendly the San Gabriel Pomona Regional Center may appear to be, ultimately they have the power to become your child's conservator and ruin your life. As always, please assure that the official minutes of this board meeting accurately state that I am requesting again that the San Gabriel Pomona Regional Center terminate their conservatorship of my son, Cavan Argila. Thank you again for your patience, Board.
Thank you very much for that. We will continue with our agenda tonight. We're going to go on to the consent agenda where the items presented will be enacted. I'm sorry if you can hear dogs in the background, by one motion and one vote. So seeing as though last month was a training month, we did not review the minutes from the prior month's meeting, that being March. So we have minutes from both March and from April to review and approve tonight. So those were in our packet. I'm going to stop there and ask if anybody has any questions or comments on the minutes for March 2025 and April 2025. Okay, not hearing or seeing anything. We're going to go continue on. We had a presentation by Sal Gonzalez on the fiscal year 25-26 performance contract. Sal, do you want to give us a little update on the status of that performance contract?
Yes. Good evening, board president, board members, community members, as well as SGPRC staff. Just want to share with you, and this is a presentation I made at the last month's board meeting where we talked about our performance contract. These are measures given to us by the department. So what we do as an agency is we provide the activities. Part of what we did is we shared this flyer for our community members to participate at that board meeting last month. We give them 30 days ample notice for them to be present. But what we also do is provide our performance contract onto our website. And that information is put there for 30 days for any type of comments or suggestions to be added for the activities. What we also did is, on top of that, we also shared this with our equity groups, some of our parent support groups, just for them to be aware of, would you like to see any additional activities or do you have any feedback for us? But at the end of the day, we are here today on May 28th, and like to share with all of you that we actually didn't receive any comments, which is in a way a good thing. But for us, it's just really making sure that you as community members have the ability to share any type of feedback you would like to share with us for us to add to the performance contract. So on that note, due to the fact that we didn't get any comments, I would like to share with you that, at this moment, we've concluded our portion and just really kind of want to bring it back to you, board, if you want to approve that performance contract. And if we agree to do that, then what I'll do is submit that to the Department of Developmental Services, letting them know this is our performance contract, board approved.
Great, thank you, Sal. So, just to sort of summarize, Sal gave us an amazing presentation last month on the performance contract in its, very late draft stages, and the community at large was given the opportunity to provide any feedback. No feedback was received. And so, with that now 30 days with no changes, no feedback, we as a board are being requested to approve the performance contract as currently
As written.
as written. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So those are the three items on the consent agenda tonight. Would be the minutes for our March meeting, the minutes for our April meeting, and for the 25-26 performance contract. I'm going to call for the first and the second, and then we'll have any questions, comments. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Karen. Do I have a second?
I do.
Richard, I got you on that one. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'll get you next time, Preeti. Any comments, questions for Sal with regard to the performance contract? And I think, the fact that we didn't have any feedback actually speaks very well and very highly of the performance contract for next year. Any questions or comments for Sal?
Julie, not a question for Sal, but a question for you. Robert's Rules of Order question. Since I was not here for the presentation, do I have to abstain my vote?
Ooh, that is a great question, and I wish I had a definitive answer for you. I'm going to defer. Sorry, Erica, I'm going to put you on the spot. What are your thoughts on that?
You totally can. I can put you down for abstain.
Okay, just asking. I'm sure it was beautiful, Sal. But
It was.
I know, right? Since I wasn't here, I can't look
that
for the
is
minutes and other
perfectly.
things.
That's what I
Okay.
thought. But I
Mhm.
wanted to make sure. I mean, to be honest, I don't look at bylaws every single day. So,
Neither do I.
yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Okay.
Good question.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. All in favor of passing the motion, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We got you, Adriana. All right. Thank you very much, board members. Okay. Congratulations, Sal. That kind of wraps up the all the hard work on the performance contract for now.
Well,
So
congratulations to all of us. Really, you could see the actual performance contract draft in the materials from last month, but I'll be more than happy to share it again. And we'll definitely keep you posted as an agency once the department approves it. So thank you very much. And really
is it too hard to request that maybe you drop it in the chat if there's any guests or board members who want to download?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
It's also in the meeting materials drive.
Oh, look at that. Well, there's more than one way to meet a goal. Okay. Moving right along. We are going to have our financial report from Dara.
Good evening, everyone. Let me see if I can share my screen. Erica, can you give me the ability to share the screen? Thank you very much. Okay. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening again, President Chetney, members of the board, regional center staff, DDS, and members of the community. Tonight, I'm presenting the financial report, which comprise of operations and purchase of services for services provided through March 31st, 2025 for your review. Our A1 and A2 allocation in operations for fiscal year 24-25 is almost 55 million, just under, with projected expenditures of over 54 million. Our year-to-date is over 36 million, with projected remaining expenditures of over 17 million. Currently, this is showing an unallocated amount of 862,000. However, we have since allocated those funds, and so in terms of operations, we will end the year with a balanced budget. In our restricted ops fund, which comprise of our Family Resource Center, foster grandparents, senior companion, CPP, and DC closure, we anticipate utilizing all of those funds by the end of the fiscal year as well. And any questions in terms of operations before I move to our purchase of service? Okay. Service. Again, this is part of the A1 and the A2 allocation, which is over 513 million. The current month's expenditures is over 45 million, with the year-to-date expenditures of over 349 million, with remaining expenditures and late bills of 164 million. We are expecting to end the year with a balanced budget. In terms of our CPP, CRDP, and HCBS, we received in the A2 allocation 100,000 with a balance here of 16,000. Is there any questions in terms of POS before I move on to the next slide? Okay. Now here are the details of the information. First slide, operations, and this gives more details in terms of salaries and workers' comp and other benefits, as well as other operational expenses. And this is now the details of the purchase of service. And this is our statement of financial position, as well in graph form. And this would show the next slide, any surplus in operations or POS. However, in both, we are anticipating there not to be a surplus and that we will be ending the year with a balanced budget. Does anyone have any questions in terms of the financial report? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Just as a reminder to our fellow board members that the financial report is presented, discussed at the Executive Finance Committee meeting and approved during that meeting as well. So thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move right along to our Community Relations, our Legislative Advisory Committee with Karen, our esteemed chairperson.
Oh, thank you so much, President. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all here today. We met on the 14th, which was about 2 weeks ago. And first of all, before I start, I just want to say that the website looks amazing. I know that somebody's probably going to bring it up later, but I do want to say that it looks amazing. And I'm so happy that you guys were able to get that off the ground. I think that's a really lovely start to really reaching out to the community and getting the information in a concise way. So anyhow, I'm sure someone will cover that later. As far as what we did that day, we had a very full house that day. We all met, and Jesse was aboard to talk to us about all of the updates statewide and locally. He kind of gave us an update on the Keep the Promise rally, the May revised budget, and kind of discussed that next month's meeting would be canceled because there was going to be a board dinner. So on top of that, we also got a little bit of a very mini report on the community outreach that is happening through Sal's group. And that kind of wrapped it all up because there was just a lot going on in April. So including the Sirens of Silence event that happened at the regional center. So which was a complete success, I want to say. So that was pretty much it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Our next is, Philip's not here, but maybe somebody else could help step in to tell us a little bit about the advisory committee for individuals served and their families.
I will do that.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. w- at the meeting at 6 o'clock, we had an overview about the grandparent foster program with Maria, and she did a high surface level presentation about what she does in her role as the manager, and how they have gotten that program off the ground. So if in volunteer work, so if any of you would like, what I can do is I can go back to Danielle and ask her to ask Maria to put that on a slide deck and send out. So that's what we talked about.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Our vendor advisory committee, Kelly.
Hello, how are you guys doing tonight? On a few things that came up, and one thing I want to kind of talk to the board about of ways that we can kind of strategize of next step. One is, it was really exciting. They had an adult day softball game, which was really fun to hear about. They had about 125 people in day programs playing softball. So really trying to figure out how to do those kind of day events to bring people together, doing fun things with their community. So that was exciting. Another piece was interesting when I was seeing the community relations and legislative advocacy committee is one of the things we decided is we had kind of a side advocacy group, and Jesse and Yvonne were supporting it. And when we talked about the best use of staff time, we're going to combine that with our legislative committee. So Jamie Curry is going to be doing that to be able to give vendors kind of real action item tools on advocacy of what they can do with their consumers and their families to be able to meet with legislators and make commitments. So we're excited about that. But the question that I have, and then the other thing is kind of with advocacy and not sure where it falls into is one of the challenges, and I know I've had this with other groups that I've worked with, is individuals who are being charged to use an ambulance when they have no other a means of transportation and it's not covered by their insurance or not their insurance. And I'm wondering if that's something that the Legislative Advisory Committee can take on or give us some insight, or going to the state, because that also helps in mental health, right? I don't know if you know this, but if you have a 5150, right, you have to go to a hospital without your consent, you still have to pay for the ambulance, right? So you have that compounded challenge for an individual with mental health crisis or having a medical crisis. They don't get to shop around to see if it's part of their insurance. It's happening to them, and then they get a bill at the end. So we had somebody bring that up with their healthcare with the individuals that they're working with. So that was just something I know that's been an ongoing issue that with other work that I volunteer with. And I'm wondering if other people have heard about this and what we can do to kind of maybe start helping having that conversation with the state of that is surprise billing when you have to take that ambulance and you didn't even know that it was there. And then the question that I have is one of the question, and I don't want to sound judgy, and I'm sure it's going to sound like it is, how do we help vendors understand their relationship in the relationship between regional center and vendors, right? How do we help them understand it's a partnership right? Coming, because we hear in the vendor advisory, like when we're talking about rate reform. Now that's been a 6-year conversation. This is not new, but for some vendors, never hearing about it, or they're not sure. So really either hints for me of people who've been here long enough, or with other regional centers or within your own organizations, of how do we help vendors become more active, right? Because I think about all the staff time that they're having the same conversations. They're really trying to get, I would say the vendor served, right? Great customer service. But when you're having the same conversation of things that they should have known, or how do we get that information out? I find with me, I'm a little frustrated because I don't know how to help people help themselves in this partnership. So that's kind of the end of my piece, but I'd be open to anything.
If I may, Julie, I can share. I think it's important to reflect on things that are working well in the various platforms we have, and areas that we potentially could recalibrate or do differently. And for example, one area that we have is we have our standing vendor advisory. I hope I'm not going too off topic here, Kelly, if you're okay with this, but we have our vendor advisory committee, which is a committee of the board. It's kind of a formal agenda. And in addition to that, we also have a monthly service provider meeting. And it's starting to feel, Kelly and I've had some kind of preliminary conversations, starting to feel like kind of a mini version of the vendor advisory committee, of kind of the same, so much information. And we're thinking, could that be a platform to maybe potentially reimagine that monthly meeting in a different setting, different platform that's helpful and useful for everybody? Because I think everybody's so stretched for time that it gets a little challenging to create, multiple ways, the same information in that way. So that's just one idea about kind of reimagining different touch points with us. And then hopefully with our new, not to jump ahead of our other thing, but our new website in different ways that we can really centralize information, because I think we have a pretty good turnout at our vendor advisory committee. We have a pretty good attendance, I would say. But when you look at 100 people, 100 providers, when we're having over 3,000, 4,000, how do we get more people involved in those areas? So Kelly, you have our full support at the center to reimagine different ways of outreach, touch points. Somebody made a request for a newsletter, which I appreciate. A newsletter. Sometimes the challenges with the newsletter, things can be a little outdated by the time it gets a quarterly, different things. So I think there's different ways to definitely look at it. So what you're hearing from me this evening is we're very flexible, whatever we can do to reimagine, but we support how we can get more people involved.
Well, and I know that you guys have been, Jesse, even that communication list, I forget what that's called, but your communication pathway. I actually used it the other day. Somebody said, who do I contact there? And I'm like, hold on. I know that there's a pathway communication plan that I can actually look at and give you the information. So, other suggestions, and I do appreciate your team's support with the vendors. I'm just trying to figure out how to help relieve some of the redundant information that your staff have to do. When I think about, they only have so many hours to work, right? Is that the best use of our time, of staff time? I'll just say staff time. That was having that conversation with Yvonne and the advocacy. It's like, where is this going? If we're not getting action, right, moving forward, and that's not on her, but if this is just to sit and meet and have multiple conversations about the same issue, that's in my mind not the best use of her time, right? And so that's really where trying to figure out how do we help, like you said, 100 out of 3,000 or 4,000, that's really difficult. And what's happening is going to affect them in a big way, right? When I think of like the emails we just got out saying, like, if you have not done A and B, you will not be able to bill this month. And that just affects the participant, the consumers that we work with, right? And so they're the ones who inevitably are going to be impacted. Yes, the vendor is, but it's really the service being provided. Other suggestions? Or you can think about it and send them to me. I'll put my email in the chat.
Kelly, I guess I want to make sure that I'm grasping what the issues are. Is it there's too much information and the right information isn't getting to the people who need it. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
It's a combination. It's people who, there's some of that, right? People who are not reading the newsletters, not coming to the VAC, not coming to the meetings, and then show up at a VAC meeting saying, I've never heard of rate reform. Why are you doing this to me? And it's like, no, we have gotten this in so many different ways, right? So then the meeting has to stop. Lucina and Jesse and the team have to explain it all over again. And this person's really upset. But rate reform has been going on for 6 years. And I'm finding kind of now, when I was just sitting as part of the VAC, like, okay, this doesn't affect me. It was fine. But now as I'm taking this leadership role on, it's like, okay, I need to look at this differently. How can I help on both sides, right? It's also best use of our regional center staff time, as well as if that person doesn't follow through with some of the things that DDS is saying, right, then consumers are going to be impacted. And that's my big issue. And how do we help you do that? And that's part of it. When I heard, I think it was Jesse was talking about some number, one of them, Jesse or Lucina, was like, how many vendors? And I almost fell out of my seat. I was like, what? Like, how could there be that many vendors? And we have 98 people on the vendor advisory meeting, right? And how are they getting their information and how is it being disseminated? Does that make sense, Julie?
How does all the information get out to vendors? Is there a centralized way that it gets out to the vendors through Regional Center? I'm thinking like.
So we get invites to all the different committees you want to be part of, right? So that's one way. So the VAC, so again, it's email, you're getting that in those, like in the VAC, just like the board, you click on the link and all of the historical information's there so you can read it as you go through. And then during the meeting, we have our subcommittee, and each subcommittee has a meeting. So even, so they can meet with their subcommittees either in housing, early child, sorry, my cat is going a little bit crazy
My
behind me.
guy here, it's the cat.
And so all those meetings, right, rolls into the vendor advisory committee meeting. And then as Jesse was saying, a sub one, the monthly meeting. So we have this kind of 2 monthly meetings. They can go on to the website or the Google Docs where they have the historical information. And then Jesse and his team, that's when they're giving the information, what every vendor needs to know for the month, questions and answers. So there's a lot of information at that point, but they're hearing it in kind of different ways.
We also have our constant contact for service providers. The other area that I'd like to bring in, if it's okay for the conversation, is the importance of data integrity of providers, making sure that the information is current and updated in our system. The provider directory, service provider, over the next, I would say, couple of years, I think it's going to be a journey. Once that's going, that might be another centralized way that can kind of get information out to in that platform. So lots of different variety of methods to get information out, and the rate reform particular areas is kind of a statewide issue going on, and there's actual I would say most regional centers are actually doing phone calls to providers who have not engaged in the emails, the constant contacts, any of the communications, the deadlines, doing actual physical calls to individuals to try to figure out who the right person is to be able to help support. So it's been a workload for sure on that area.
If I could add, make a comment, Jesse, in terms of that. One of the things that was encouraged quite a bit a couple years ago, and even up until recently, Tim was trying to do that as well, is encouraging providers to submit to our to our databases a generalized email that would not change with the turnover from staff. So you have Kelly at, ability first, what, but, if Kelly leaves, then that email is gone. And that's the email that's on our system. So there was a high encouragement to submit a general email that somebody could monitor and get all the information, and regardless of who was whoever the staff was to monitor, that the information would be consistent. That didn't happen a lot. We tried promoting that quite a bit and sending out electronic announcements for that. Internally, we also send mass emails, with lists that we have. So the communication is done several ways. We're about to launch into social media, but I don't know how much of that could be of assistance, taking away from, there was also work groups that used to be held via like Facebook and kind of peer-to-peer kind of working together. But that also didn't pan out either. That didn't work very well. It wasn't sustainable, because somebody would need to be leading it as a kind of almost like a side job, and monitoring the conversations there too.
So I think it's a kind of a bigger issue, right? Like not a one and done, but if you think about it, or if you're talking to vendors, or if you're a vendor yourself, or as you kind of move through our system, just asking people ways that they get information, better ways to get information, how do we help you? And again, with that partnership, right? It's really working on, this is not an us against them. This is we're in this together. To provide the best program and quality that we can. And that's really kind of what I'm trying to move toward, is that every vendor feels that.
That's frustrating, isn't it? Yeah, just as I'm thinking it through.
Yeah, it is. And when I hear certain things at those vendor advisory committee meetings, I'm just like, how? Like it's surprising. I actually said those words at the meeting, like, how are we going to get the people who aren't at this meeting, right? And even moving towards Zoom, like I understood when it used to be in person, right? That I'll say there's some things about COVID that we gave us some opportunities. One of them being, Zoom. And so I understood when a vendor didn't want to travel from Azusa to the far reaches of Pomona, right, to go to a 1 hour meeting or a 2 hour meeting, that made sense. But so much of your work is in this partnership with this regional center, especially if they're your only regional center. I happen to work with 8 of them now at camp, maybe 11 of them, right? So there's a lot of different things going on. But if it's a one and done, right, this is your partner in this, this journey together, working with DDS, working with our consumers, the best piece. And sometimes I think people don't always put that together. And that's as you're saying, Julie, that's the frustrating part. And I'm not sure how to help them, what is happening.
And interestingly enough, Kelly, I mean, I know we joke a lot about we're the best regional center, but we do give a lot more platforms for that.
Absolutely.
Get out. Our VAC is, from what I hear feedback from providers, is that our VAC meetings are better attended than some other regional centers.
Mm-hmm.
We have probably one of the largest attendance.
Yeah.
Separate from that, we have 2 opportunities. We have the monthly meeting as an informational meeting from us to the providers.
Yep.
We also have the standing monthly VAC meeting that's through the board, and then all of the subcommittees. And on top of that, we were also having the vendor advocacy meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So the opportunities are there. We just, the challenge is, where's the disconnect, or where's the engagement not happening? Exactly.
Like you're seeing the same people, right? There's probably a core group that is there, but it's the other ones that aren't. And again, I will go back with the rate reform. When people still at this point, right, with the directory and all these things that you need to be doing, and they'll sit in the meeting and it's like, what are you saying? Why are you doing this to me? You know, this is unfair. And it's like, this is not new. This is not a surprise. And that was what was starting to make me start thinking about it, is how did you get this far into it? It wasn't a new vendor. That'd be different if they were just brand new, trying to figure out the system. These are established vendors that I feel like, I don't know how we kind of re-engage that relationship or re-engage that part of, when I say the partnership, right? I personally as a vendor, but then also in the role that I play, I expect Jesse and his team to perform at a certain level, right? There's certain things that they can only do, and I do expect them to perform that way. But that also means I'm going to perform my way and do what I need to do as a vendor to work together, that it's just not all one-sided. And sometimes I feel in those meetings, it's kind of like, well, you need to do this. It's like, no, that's not their role. That's not their role to set up every advocacy through, you know, Yvonne does a great job, but that's our role. We have 3,000 people, we have 3,000 vendors. Even if we had 5 people per vendor, which we have much more, that is a huge amount of people that can make change. But they're like, why can't Yvonne do that? It's like, Yvonne's one and she works for this organization, right? That is her job. And it comes different from a vendor, from a family, than it does from the person who works at Regional Center.
I'd be happy to continue partnering, Kelly, with you on this. Happy to bring this conversation back to the vendor advisory committee.
Okay.
I'm happy to do a survey. We can think of some different strategies and ideas to get some feedback. I think it would be helpful to hear from providers, especially those that are longstanding, who've been very consistent about what their thoughts and ideas are on what could increase engagement. I'm happy to think of different solutions so we can try to figure out how we can get more around this better. I'm more than
That'd be great. That'd be great. I appreciate that. So thank you very much, Julie.
No, thank you. This is exactly the type of thing that, you know, we'd like our meetings to make sure that we make room for, is for conversations like this. And I'm even thinking I'd be happy to, you know, lend a different perspective or lens.
Which would be great.
Yeah, because there's a couple of things even, you know, churning in my brain, and I come at it obviously from a very different point of view, a very different, even professional kind of a lens as well. But we all kind of deal with the same sort of things, is how many things are going on at any given time coming at us from one of 15 different directions. Do you know? So.
And also the question is it, you know, again, tallying up who's it affecting a little bit? Is it impacting more of the kind of mom and pop businesses? Or, you know, some of the larger corporations, are they the ones that are responding, or are they the ones not responding? You know, kind of identifying a little bit more, you know, who is the larger, because if somebody's been in business for many, many years and it's a mom and pop, you know, that maybe they've been in business for many, many years and this is all new to them, the electronic format of you know, of getting information, maybe that's not their strength.
Yeah, and that, and what, as you say that, Yvonne, so we did a survey a while back and only like 20% of our people use social media. Pre-COVID, we had our Spanish-speaking parent group that we now have had never emailed. So when everything moved from during COVID onto the email platform, let alone Zoom, that was a huge, one of the real catalysts to start our Spanish-speaking parent group, because they were like, we are not getting information. We don't even know how to do this. And so we did do trainings on how to send an email, how to do these different things. But that, as you're saying that, Yvonne, like if we're sending a survey out, right, and we're sending a survey out and I don't use email, and the survey comes through email, are you really getting my information? And I'm not sure, you know, is that something we could have like the advocates do, you know, call vendors that we're not getting access to or something like that? I'm just trying to figure out how we can reach people to get them the information that is going to have impact in their lives, one way or another, either their business or the people that they serve.
Yeah, I had a situation where a provider was saying, well, I never got that. Nobody ever sent it to me. And this is the first time I'm hearing about it. And so we did kind of helped them along and looked at the back end. They received the information and they haven't even accessed it. But again, doing electronic methods is not their strength. So they probably clicked on it, didn't even realize it, and they never read the information.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's when I say no fault, I mean, we have the same thing. Now I'm a camp director, I'm hiring staff. I literally have to text them to say, I've sent you an email. Please look at your email, right? Again, it's just a different depending on where you've entered into the electronic world. So it's either way, right? I think of people who don't do it at all to people who are like, I'll do it if I have to, and different things. But Trish, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I just had a kind of a question and actually more of a comment is, I was looking at the new website and I was looking at under the service providers area, and maybe this might be a great opportunity to where, rolling out and getting some of that information. Because if they're not doing email and if they're not very much on social media, how are they even going to get to this, this great platform? So how is there ways, maybe using this as a stepping tool to say, hey, look, come back, how can we do this, and get the information to them and maybe get them back re-engaged. So I was just thinking, I know you have a lot on your plate, Ivana, but that might be like another little,
Actually, you're not too far off. One of the things that we had in our previous website that we're working on this one as well is the news format. When news comes up, we had that method on our previous website where we entered the updated news, and then we filtered it out to populate on different pages. So if it was news, something like a new, rate reform, or something that was targeting providers, we would filter it out and it would populate on the main news page. And then when we go to the providers, it said news and events, or I forgot what the title was, but it was like current, like new hot topics, or I don't know what it was called, but it said for providers. So it was filtering out, and people would get the information right on there. The minimum wage increase, and anything that had to do with providers, it would be filtering out on there. But even that wasn't getting a lot of attention. And so it's an easy fix. It doesn't create a big workload on our part, and we can continue to do that. But I don't know if I think the challenge is getting them to actually go to our website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like this is where your information is.
Leading horse to water.
Yeah.
Can't make them drink.
And I also think we should probably look at some data too, because I also want to recognize, I'm sorry to spend so much time, but I think it's a really good conversation. We have a lot of attendance from people that are not part of our regional center that come to get information from us because of our accessibility. And that's a positive thing. And we embrace that because we feel that we can help one person, we can help other people. And so there could be some pieces in there as well that are other regional centers that are not getting information out, or people coming to validate certain information they're hearing. So we see it as a positive thing that people are coming to us.
Yes.
We also have a lot of frequent attendance from outside of our catchment area as well. So I just think getting some good data is also really helpful in this process, so we can hone in, so we can do the best we can for everybody who's coming as well. It's another layer.
That'd be great. I have a question on e-billing. I haven't done e-billing in a long time, but is there a way that you can send out a statement in e-billing? Like, I'm trying to think of, I believe the only way I can bill is e-billing. So I know at least somebody in that organization is having access to e-billing. If that's all they're doing, is there a way to send out a little blurb to say, here's the website, or out, I'm not sure. I'm just trying to think of just
we've actually used that platform to put notices, like something that's really urgent on the e-billing site. It's very outdated, that site. It almost looks like a blog.
It's painful. Yeah,
it's hard. Formatting is a challenge, and it really needs a revamp, but it's so when there has been certain situations or things that needed alerts, that could be potentially posted on there, but not a lot. It's really not allowed to do too much because there's
Okay.
not a lot.
The characters are limited in that space.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so, you know, if we used to oversaturate our header, our slider on our website, and consistently, you know, the rate reform things that were critical were right on our slider before. And so currently, right now, and again, I'll probably go over it a little bit, but you know, those interchangeable buttons that are now on the homepage, those round buttons. Right now, we're trying to promote the CRDP survey, and that's in a different color. It's a click, and it takes you straight to the survey. Again, but it's only going to work if people come to